Guys, the DOS is back. This time round, we are talking about one of the most important aspects of your scholarship. The example I will be giving here will be focusing on Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, but it will be important even in Chevening and many other scholarships. Let's get started. A friend of mine had applied to so many scholarships and he wasn't getting successful. So one day he told me that he suspected one of his referees was too lazy to type a proper reference statement. He suspected that his referee was just giving a secretary who had not interacted with him academically to type a general reference statement addressed to no one. And this really must have affected his chances of winning. This video is going to show you how to identify aspects of the reference statement that you need to talk to your referee about so that when they write them, it may help you win the scholarship. This guy told me that when he removed that referee from one of the scholarship applications, he went to the interview and won. And this was a higher end scholarship than the ones that he had failed to get. So today I want to show you how to talk to your referee so that they can help you win a scholarship by writing a proper and well-tailored reference statement. Let's continue with this. It is good to note that very many young people miss opportunities because of badly written, general, and irrelevant reference statements. They are badly written because they are not written to anyone. They are written to address to nobody, and they are not talking about you. They're just talking about some general student in the department, but they're not talking about you in particular. They are also written in a way that is irrelevant to the scholarship because the scholarship is focusing on academic prowess. They are talking about your leadership, or the scholarship is talking about leadership. They are just focusing on academic prowess. So it means that they are not addressing the scholarship needs. So how should we talk to the referees to ensure that we get the best out of their reference statements? Now, the first thing you need to do is to study the scholarship selection criteria and governing philosophies. These are very important things so that you understand what things that you need to address in your scholarship pursuit. But when you are talking to your referee, you need to highlight these things properly so that they can know what to write about you. Explain to your referee what you have written about yourself regarding these details. Remember, when you are doing the scholarship, you have already told the scholarship committee about yourself. You have written a personal statement, you have written certain essays, and these essays have been read by these people. But these people now want to hear from a second person or a third party to know whether whatever you've written about yourself is correct, or maybe to verify. So if they are going to write about you, they need to write about you in order to confirm or reinforce what you had written. So you need to talk to them about the kind of profile you have put in the scholarship. Also, discuss with them how you want them to articulate your profile in the reference letter. Okay? We are going to talk about these details and see how to address them. Let us use the example of the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship Selection Criteria. They are saying that they are focusing on three major things: the academic merit, the quality of study plans, and development impact. Remember, you have already talked to the university about yourself, you have written the admission, and now you are applying to the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission so that they can see whom you are and whether you fit to be in this particular scholarship. Now, these are the things that they have set aside as a measure of your suitability to be selected for this scholarship. So how do you address these details with your supervisor? What should your supervisor say about these particular aspects of the scholarship? So what should your academic referee talk about your academic merit? First, they need to say how your scores compare to the rest of the class, because that is very important. Whether you are a competitive student, they want to see, are you in the top 10% or in the top 5% or in the top 20%? If the smaller that value, the better you are. So if you are in the top 5%, it means you are among the best 5% of the class. If you are in the top 1%, you are among the best 1% of the class. That means if there are 100 students, then it means that you are number one if you are in the top 1%. If you are in the top 5% out of 100 students, it means that you are about number 3, number 2. So that is very important in informing the people about how you competed in the class. Number 2 is your attitude towards academic pursuit. Are you someone who is curious? Are you someone who is dedicated to learning? How do you show this? Maybe through reasoned assignment, well-reasoned assignments, assignments that are well-researched and broad enough and also deep enough. That means that you have an inquisitive spirit. You are always working to push the boundaries beyond the requirements of the assignment. Or any cool projects that you worked on. These are projects that show you to be someone who is very interested in pursuing knowledge. You see, they can also talk about any special academic skills. Maybe you are good at collaborative research, or you are good at some particular software that make you so important in a particular research, or maybe you are so good at coding, or you are so good at language documentation, some special skill that can identify you as someone who could succeed in the kind of academic environment that you have chosen. On your study plans, how should the referee talk about them? First, the study plans are about what you want to do with your studies, what you want to achieve with your masters, what you want to achieve with this kind of postgraduate experience. Now, the referee should not concentrate on the details of what you have written, because that is not necessary, but they need to show that you are capable of succeeding in that field. So the first thing, they need to demonstrate that you have capacity to succeed in that field. One of the things that they can talk about is your demonstrated curiosity to pursue knowledge in that field, because this is going to be very important in helping the assessors know that you are able to pursue that kind of knowledge because you are curious about it. The other thing is to talk about any distinguishing excellence in the field. For instance, if it is about a particular modeling in mathematics, you are doing mathematical modeling, but this person or this referee has observed you for maybe 3 years, and they have noticed that when they were teaching you math, the way you articulated your mathematical knowledge was very, very strong. You showed that you are capable of doing very, very serious equation manipulations that demonstrated that you can really take on that particular modeling work. The other thing is to talk about any observed skills that could make you successful in that area. They could be collaborative skills, they could be leadership skills, they could be very many other skills that show that you are capable of succeeding in that field. If it is a highly customer focused, customer facing field, then they need to talk about your communication skills. They need to talk about your emotional intelligence. They need to talk about these other things. But they should be careful not to talk about things that they cannot illustrate using the experiences they have had with you. Now on to development impact. What should your referee say about it? First, remember that the Commonwealth Scholarship, just as well as the Chevening Scholarship, the British government sponsoring this scholarship expect you to go back home and make impact in your country. Now, how should your referee talk about this? The first thing, they should show that you have some strong leadership skills. So how do they do that? They need to show particular scenarios where you took actions that show that you have great leadership skills. Maybe they are organizational. You organized a concert, or you organized a presentation. You organized something that they know of. Maybe you organized some presentations about a particular project in class, or you organized an industry meetup with the students. So those are very important. The other thing is any observed concern about the major issues in the area. For instance, you are someone who is interested in renewable energy. So Have you shown concern for the environment, the need for energy transition from fossil fuels to renewable sources? Are you someone who is interested in sustainability? Such kind of things. The other thing is the experiences that show commitment to make impact. Maybe you are someone who is easily radicalized by the sufferings of people around you. So that is something they need to talk about and show a scenario where that happened. So as to depict you as someone who is very concerned about issues surrounding your field. So that is very important. On to how these referees should talk about you. They need to talk about you in terms of their personal opinion. They need to express their personal opinion about you. So it doesn't need to be the university's opinion, the university's assessment, or the departmental assessment. It needs to be their own assessment of you as a former student or as a former employee or a current one. So they need to talk about you clearly and authentically from their own personal view. So that means it is their opinion, not someone else's or the organization's opinion or something that you did for the organization. They need to talk about things they saw you do and the things that they actually assessed in you. The other thing is that they need to illustrate their points using scenarios. That means these are scenarios where they have interacted with you at a deeper level such that they can understand what you are doing, the attitude that you expressed, or something that is very important about you that showed where a situation where you took actions that produced very impressive results. These results do not have to be academic results. They can just be results in terms of the number of people you mobilize to do a particular thing, or they need to talk about their own personal assessment of how your impact could be felt in a particular situation. So that is very important, and they need to show that using specific skills that they are talking about. If they say you have good organizational skills, they need to talk about a situation where you organized a very successful event or a very successful program. That is very important. I have seen some very interesting referee statements where the referee is just talking about things that are not even, they are so detached from. They need to be personal assessments that can be illustrated by real experiences that they have had with you. Apart from their own assessment of you, the referees also need to include some very important facts. One of them is how long they have interacted with you. This will give some credence to their assessment of you because it will say that the much they know about you could have been that deep because they have interacted with you for longer. The other thing is the current address, the correct address. You know, there are some referees that address their letters to whom it may concern. That would put a big dent on your scholarship. Don't let that happen. The other thing is their name, their designation, and current affiliation. It doesn't have to be the institution where they worked with you. It can just be the current institution where they are. The other details are the contact details, the phone number, and current email address. These people may be contacted to give more information, so they need to include this so that they may be contacted very easily, so that they can provide this kind of information. I would like us to talk about features of a reference statement that may end up weakening your scholarship application and discuss how you can talk to your supervisor or your referee about them so that you can avoid them. Number one are details that are irrelevant to the scholarship. It is your duty as a scholarship applicant to discuss the requirements of the reference letter with your supervisor. Because if you don't, they may not read those requirements and end up writing things that are not going to make you win. So it will be a waste of time, a waste of space. It is your duty to discuss the requirements with your supervisor and your referee. Number two, general and unillustrated opinions. They are just making things up. They are just saying you are a great leader, but they are not saying which leadership skills you have. So their reference statements cannot be trusted. To avoid this, you need to have a deep interaction with your referee. Don't just pick someone just because they taught you and then you now want them to talk about you in a very deep way, yet they have not interacted with you deeply. Have a deep professional interaction with your referee at a personal level so that by the time they write, they have things to write. They have experiences that they can talk about. And these are things that they don't have to have seen them, but they need to have heard you talk about them so that it is very clear that they know what they are talking about. There are also ideas that may contradict your application essays. This one, you have already submitted the essays. Now you are talking to your supervisor so that they can avoid talking about things that may contradict your essays. This means that you need to discuss with your referee the things that you have written about yourself so that they can understand how to avoid contradicting you in the scholarship. Finally, you remember this guy we talked about? You remember this guy? Let this not be your referee.